Good afternoon.
You're not Rosie Davidson, I know that. It was just an instinct there, but...
And thank you for the opportunity to talk to you. My name is Steve Lowndes, and I am currently chair of the Akaroa Civic Trust. My association with Banks Peninsula goes back to the time of Akaroa County Council and then Banks Peninsula District Council. I was a councillor at the time of abolition, when the cost of water and wastewater compliance, the cost of tourism, of roading, and the expectations of the 21st century finally caught up with us, as you well know. Since then, the communities of the peninsula have remained much the same. Populations are stable and growing slowly. They are resilient. They have a huge sense of place, and they are very conscious of a collective history. The peninsula is rich in every aspect of cultural heritage, biodiversity, and wild landscapes and rugged coastlines. It is complementary to the city's urban environment, and yet there is a sense that this is not yet fully appreciated. There are 4 thriving runanga at Kokorarata, Rapaki, Wairewa, and Onuku. There are land and marine reserves and huge opportunities for recreation. This year we are celebrating 175 years of European settlement. Akaroa was the first successful settlement of New Zealand by Europeans, and as chance would have it, they happened to be French. So there is a strong French connection and frequent contact with cultural attachés and ambassadors. The Akaroa Civic Trust was established 45 years ago with help from the architect Peter Bevan. It was the first and is now one of 7 or 8 active civic trusts around the country. It is charged with the protection of the built environment of Akaroa and its environs. Akaroa's extensive collection of intact colonial homes makes its townscapes unique. As a consequence of this, the Trust has entered the resource consent process on many occasions and with considerable success. At one hearing over 20 years ago, it became clear that the use of the term historic precinct was legally meaningless unless it was backed up with lines on a map. The Trust worked with Heritage New Zealand to establish an Akaroa historic area as part of the district plan, and this is referenced in our submission. Over the years, the Trust has advocated for heritage, submitted on long-term plans, and played an active part in district plan formulation. The Trust has played a vital role on the Akaroa Design and Appearance Advisory Committee since its establishment nearly 40 years ago. We are hugely frustrated by the fact that nearly 2 years since the last election, this subcommittee of council has still not been appointed. And we're also frustrated that, or disappointed if you like, that the council did not roll over the provisions of the existing Banks Peninsula District Plan until the city plan was sorted, thus alleviating some of the huge pressure on staff to meet unrealistic deadlines. The Trust was instrumental in the establishment of the Takapuneke Reserve, which encapsulates a history, Māori and Pākehā, which rivals Waitangi in its national significance. This is a hugely unrecognised resource. Currently, we are working with Heritage New Zealand to stabilise and eventually preserve the French naval building at French Farm. It was constructed in 1843 and is one of the oldest in the South Island. We have published books, pamphlets, guides, and newsletters, and last year we received a Civic Award from this council for heritage advocacy. We have a strong board which comprises an eclectic mix of members who enjoy robust debate. We have a subscription base of over 200 people, many of whom live in Christchurch. We hope that our corporate knowledge of issues, pertinent to Akaroa will be continued to be recognised and used as a resource by this council. Our submission is in 3 parts, and I believe they have all been touched upon by previous submitters. The first part of our submission with regard to the post office building, the service centre and information centre, is perhaps our strongest suit. The level of tourism in Akaroa demands that there should be an adequate information centre. The building is up to code, funding has been allocated, and yet this building has been sitting empty and an eyesore for 4 years. It's about time that the services which were available in that building before the earthquake are restored. The second item with regard to the Akaroa Wharf, this was a surprise to us when the figure of $11 million appeared in the long-term plan. We had no knowledge that this was being contemplated. The point or decision which we would like the council to take note of is that the wharf is part of the historic area and therefore needs to be treated as such. And of course there are many wharves around the harbour in Akaroa which are of equal significance to residents, and again I believe you've received submissions on that. The third item in our submission is really a heads up to you, and it is a very real one. It's an existential threat. It has increased markedly over the last few years. Every year there has been a storm that has further degraded the sea walls, which in time will threaten businesses along the foreshore. So that is a serious heads up for you. Thank you very much. I seem to have gone over time.
No, you haven't gone over time. So I'll open that up for questions. I mean, as you've highlighted, a number of the issues have been raised by other submitters.
Yes, but I was aware of that, hence my long prologue.
Yeah, no. But and thank you for that. Andrew.
Thank you. Steve, relating to your, and thanks for the submission as well, very thorough submission, and thanks for raising the issues. The second point that you make in the submission relating to the wharf, are you suggesting in the last line of the first paragraph, the repair of other wharves and jetties around Akaroa Harbour may be of equal importance to the local community, that maybe we need to interrogate that 11 million for the Akaroa Wharf and see what exactly is intended there? And were there to be a saving on the Akaroa Wharf, maybe some of that funding could be put into the community wharfs, such as Robinson's Bay, for example? Well,
that would mirror our thinking. The point has perhaps been made that we presume that the work estimate is based on an Opus report, which is about 4 years old, which predates the Tonkin-Taylor report on sea level rise. So I would imagine that that exercise that you suggest could be a very valid one if that figure were looked at again and part of that figure apportioned to the other wharves, which are a very important part of the recreational activity around the harbour.
Thank you, Steve. So with that in mind, would you say on behalf of your trust that fixing the damaged sea walls is a higher priority, perhaps for Akaroa residents?
Well, the wharf is obviously of a huge importance in terms of tourism, especially as the cruise ships are coming into the harbour. Anecdotally, we hear that the wharf isn't in bad shape. That's just anecdotal, and it's from the current users of the wharf. The wharves around the harbour are a vital part of the community and are of equal importance, yes. The seawalls, it's something which is unfolding. A few weeks ago, more holes opened up along the front of Beach Road, the main tourist area of the town. The incidence of damage is growing every year. So it's a heads up. Somebody needs really to take this quite seriously, because there's a lot of reclaimed land there in Akaroa too.
Thank you, Steve. Pam Richardson, the Community Board Chair, has reminded us
Yes.
of that too, so
Yeah.
thank you for that, and Andrew will as well. Thank you.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Steve. Good to see you. And
Thank you.
Congratulations again for all the work that you do. And thank you for all the work that you do on our behalf. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.